Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Fireside Creators. I am your host, Reverend Dr. Sherry Palace. Tonight, I am chatting with medium Valentina Marie about her gifts of helping others with passed on loved ones, as well as life issues. Please remember to keep all comments and questions related to the show topic and that this is a safe space. Thank you for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe. And we are in a new platform. Hopefully it works and I can now see all of your names when you comment or question, and you don't need to approve anything. It's been challenging, but I'm getting it to work. Thank you for welcoming us into your home and joining the conversation. I appreciate you all. Be sure to check out the follow-up course for my book. Both of them have had great reviews so far. It is a self-paced course, and once you enroll, you'll have access forever, including when I add new contributors, which is happening monthly. I am so proud of this course, and I hope you love it. The goal is to get beyond the destructive dogma, individualism, racism, homophobia, and the patriarchy. And we can if we do it together. Go to my website and find the book tab, and all the info is there. I still can't get the banners to work or any of the ticketers, but it's sherrypalace.com. Go find it. All of the stuff is there. Okay, let's meet our guest and get smarter. Valentina Marie is a psychic medium, life healer, and host of the brand new Amazon Prime TV show, Share Your Scare. Valentina has helped thousands of people to awaken spiritually and connect them with loved ones on the other side. In their early 20s, Valentina suffered a traumatic brain injury that left her nearly comatose and dying. Those gifts have helped with missing persons and cold cases, teen guidance, and healing people's energies and addictions. Welcome, Valentina.
Oh, thank you so much.
How are you, girl?
We had a delay last time thanks to a hurricane. Here we are.
We did. and you were just telling me I can't get this. There we go. Let's see. Let me figure this out even more. No. Oh, here. New platforms. And it says, please wait, preferences update already in progress. Okay, so while this platform does its thing and makes another blooper moment for my live show, so I'm so glad to have you on. Yes, we were supposed to have you on in October for spooky season.
I know.
And you got hit by the hurricane in Florida.
Yeah, so that was that. Determined that it wasn't time for a podcast.
Right. So you have one hell of a story. Your life has been so full. And I know we were talking backstage about how things always seem to happen, and even though they're so bad in the instance, it turns out for good. And you're still realizing that. But give a 5 minutes your history in LA. I couldn't even fit it on the bio. You lived with Eskimos. You went to school in the Alps. I mean, give us a quick rundown.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was like there's no nutshell. It's more like the entire coconut tree or something like that. You know, it has been a wild ride spanning from being born in Denmark to going to school in Switzerland and Alaska, and being homeless quite a few times, and then making it to Hollywood, where everyone said, oh, you're going to get eaten up alive. So I said, okay, let's do it. You know, and killed it in Hollywood, had a really good run. And then having the brain injury as well, somewhere in between that. And then having my gifts awaken, and then not transforming, some trans word, eventually making that transition.
There you go.
So like, I know that word. Transition to where I am now, which is, you know, energetic reader and healer. And so it's been a wild ride. You know, it continues to be. It's slowed down a little bit. It's not as extreme, but yeah, my life is definitely out of this world.
So what was the first realization? In your bio, you said that when your parents both passed within 2 weeks of each other, that really, I know how hard that is. And that started your quest for wanting to communicate with your mom. what kind of solidified it for you to go, okay, this is actually a gift. I can't believe I have this.
Yeah, so the gift started, shortly after the over 30 years ago when the
Wow.
brain injury happened, and I was making notes of everything I was predicting and seeing. And after a while, the whole book started filling up, and I was like,
Mm,
okay, this is more than just, I call the book Coincidences. I still have the little tiny book, but I was like, well, I think it's beyond coincidences now, because it's coincidences happen every now and then, but this is
right.
like a book just filling up of predictions and all sorts of stuff. So I started thinking something's going on. I don't really know the name of it or name for it. Something's going on. And then I got involved in the paranormal,
Mm,
which was my first time interacting, with unseen. Obviously, ghosts are tied to Earth versus spirits that are up in the universe. But I started interacting, and ghosts really seemed to like me. They would fight if I go into a place, and all of a sudden my hair is being pulled, I'm being poked. I'm like,
wow.
how do they know I can see and feel them? So it became a whole thing of like, wow, ghosts really feel comfortable. And then I know it sounds weird saying ghosts feel comfortable with you, but a lot of them are super shy, and they will like just stand and watch the living and won't
Wow.
interact. So for them to trust me enough meant a lot, that wow, these people like connect to me and trust me and want to talk to me and visit and poke me and whatever they do. And so from there, I spent probably 3-4 years doing that, just really getting into ghosts and understanding where people go when they pass. And from there, I
Okay,
just,
I can't even let you continue. Where do they go when they pass?
I know. Well, so it's split up into two things basically. We should, if it's done correctly, whether it's a natural death or an accident, we should go straight up. I mean, it's
Okay.
it's a long ass elevator, let me tell you. I finally jumped on board of someone I was channeling, and I said, "Can you just show me what dying looks like?" And
Wow.
oh my God, I was in the blackest, longest tunnel for the longest time. And I'm
Wow.
thinking, don't we just click like heaven or something? And once more up, here we are.
Control Alt Delete. Let's get there.
Yeah, like, and I was like, God, this is so boring. They make it boring, I realize, so that when you open up into the most brightest opalescent light, you're just like, oh, it's like it could be scary entering heaven or whatever you want to call it. Because after that long boring ride, and then you get this blinding light and there's angels standing, and it's really quite amazing. But I think God did that extreme so that we're gonna have boring, and then we're just gonna shock the crap out of them.
The proof, I mean, proof of you can't have light without darkness, right? We hear that
Exactly, like
all the time,
this
and you
is
don't
like
yeah, you don't appreciate the light until you've seen the darkness.
literally, I think God did this as a joke, because he has the power to make it you could go on the super train, the bullet
Right?
train, but instead he's going to draw it out, let you think about your life as you're going up this little tube. um so that's the proper way. Now, if you decide that, well, like back in the gold mine days, you owed somebody, you played a card game and somebody owed you a bag of gold, um then you might linger on, or you're waiting
Mm,
for your other loved ones to pass, so you'll linger on. So then you become a ghost. Your physical body is gone, but your soul is still inside what I liken as a Polaroid. It's that when it's kind of, well, that's not really good because the Polaroid eventually develops fully, but an outline
okay.
of the human minus the body, but the soul is still there and does not know. Shed that body, and up you go into orbit.
Okay, so now you're saying that does not know, or is it a choice? Like,
Oh, well, you're right. Sometimes, so that again breaks into two. Life is complicated.
no
Sometimes,
singularities.
right? So sometimes they choose because they're like, well, I got this debt against this guy in a gunfight, I'm going to stay, or my wife and children are still here, I'm going to
Mm.
stay and keep an eye on them, closer to them. And then other times it's so quick that people don't know they're dead and they're wandering around. In the
Oh,
case like
wow.
children often don't know the deceased. They haven't really learned that kind of a concept.
Mm.
So they're wandering around. Like in the case of the Queen Mary, when I go on the ship and visit the ship, and I talk to the little girl Jackie who drowned in the pool at age 6.
Oh, wow.
So she doesn't know. She's still walking around calling for her mother and looking, and it's super sad.
Yeah.
It's just like they don't know.
Earlier this year, I had a woman on who just wrote a book about her grandmother coming through her Roku TV. And she types,
Woo!
yeah, she types out
That's
her
so
messages that's been verified by, and she says
unbelievable.
that she just doesn't want to leave her family.
I love
So, and they carry on conversations with her through the Roku. She'll come in and say hello.
Oh
And I
my
was like,
goodness.
damn it, I need to get a Roku.
Everyone, Roku sales are through the roof now.
Right?
Like Roku Ouija boards.
Yeah, the modern day Ouija board is the Roku.
Wow, I love it. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it was super interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, she didn't want to go on. She didn't want to learn what needed to be learned, by going on. She was just fine being with her family. It was a really cool show.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out. That's amazing. But I think, well, maybe ghosts are getting more hip and more tech savvy. Well,
Right?
we have to keep up. You should too.
Right. Right.
I had a crazy story of a client. I channeled her deceased sister, and then she goes, "My sister, I went to sleep with my little son, and I woke up to find a picture of my sister on the phone. It was a selfie. The ghost took the freaking phone, took a picture. It was a little more blurry, but
Wow.
same face, same hair, same tank top." And I was,
Wow.
wow, that just gave me goosebumps. Like, how the heck did they figure that out? So I
Yeah,
mean,
after my ex-husband passed, weird stuff like that was happening all the time. He like all of a sudden my phone would just start playing a song.
wow,
And it was indicative of what was, like a message between us. I'm like, what is going on? But I have a picture of a ghost. I ever since I was, what was I, 21 when the ghost was, or no, I was 8 when my parents took the picture of the ghost, and then I was 21 when I lived in a haunted apartment.
wow,
So it was like one of those things. And even after my ex-husband died, I was in Costa Rica at the time, and before I left, I had these bamboo plants, and they were shaped
yeah.
in a heart. And he died when I was gone, and when I came home, half of that heart was dead.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
profound.
And
Wow.
my boyfriend at the time was like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, "Can't," and he goes, "This is where," because he saw it. It was healthy. Everything was fine when we left, and that half of the
Wow.
heart was dead when we came home. Yeah. So
Well,
I
it's
think
almost like he was also like, here, you can put a little plastic heart on the other, like your boyfriend now, you can add your own heart on that
Ah, I like that message. Yeah. I
side.
To me it was like, "Oh, Vince, you have such a sense of humor." But my mom has come to me a few times, not nearly enough.
Yeah.
And, for my ex, it's music because that was him.
Yeah.
For my mom, it's actually a protective type thing because that wasn't her, ironically
Wow.
enough. So yeah, I don't believe in a black and white, a true dichotomy of life. I think there's all kinds of grays in between, and the supernatural is where all those grays are.
Yeah.
So, the type of ghosts or spirits that are out there, or anything. I mean, as a Christian, I believed that Jesus could talk to me and he was dead.
That's
So why can't
right.
my
Exactly.
ancestors? Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's a good point, and I think Jesus was and God were psychic. So we can't really sit and say, when I meet opposition from religious people and they're like, you're channeling the devil or da da da. I'm like, the devil can't even afford me. So I don't think I'm going to be the devil. But it's just, yeah, I mean, if you look through psychics, they've been called other things, shamans, mystics,
Mhm.
seers, whatever.
Forever.
Throughout, if you go through history, you're going to find it. It's just another word for psychic. It's nothing, that somebody decided, oh, let me set up a roadside show and sell snake oil. This has been around for a long time.
Well, and our ancient humans who were psychics wrote the Bible.
Yeah.
So it's all very selective.
Can't get more psychic than that.
Right. Predictions, it was from God,
Right.
supposedly, but I mean, that's where it all originates. Again, it's a different word. They were forefathers and anointed and prophets, just different terms for the exact same thing.
Exactly, I agree. And one of my clients is funny. Um, Not that I really take people's book suggestions, but sometimes I do. I'm in the mood to read. So my client tells me I should read The Psychic Life of Abraham Lincoln. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
what? And oh my God, it's so good. I finished it last year, but Abraham constantly went to a psychic, and
Wow.
and like his whole presidency was all based on that, and he would have seances at his house. And I was like,
Really?
that dude is getting cooler and cooler by the minute.
Right?
I already liked him, but now I really like him. So,
Right.
so yeah, there's it's almost like UFOs. I think it's coming into fruition more
Right.
and more. People are admitting it.
Right.
Yeah.
So this time of year is really hard for people who have lost, loved ones. Some people I know personally are having their first Christmases
Mhm.
without their partners or children. Um, those firsts are always super hard. But as the holidays come, no matter how many years ago that first was, it's still really hard because that seat is empty. There
Yeah.
is that loss. For those people, what would you tell them? What is like something general that people that you hear wish that we knew?
Um, Wait, let me think about that question. Something general that people wish that they knew, that they hear, that people in terms of,
Like all of these ghosts, is
oh,
there any type of generality where they say we want you to hear this, tell them this?
I see what you're saying. Okay, I got it. Um, yeah, it's funny, after doing so many thousands of readings, you start thinking, am I repeating myself, or is there underlying continual message that
Yeah.
always comes from the other side? And it does make us psychics sound like, oh, we're just saying this to everyone, but honestly, um some information is the same for a lot of people, and others get very different information. At the end of the day, um most of them want the living to know that they are safe, and I
Mm,
always like to say they've made it to the other side.
okay.
But they want the living want to know if they are happy, or if they suffered when they passed. Sometimes there's questions about the transition to going there, and other times they want to know how they're doing. The living like to know, what are they doing over there. Sometimes they tell me, and sometimes they just don't. But believe it or not, they're doing a lot of stuff over there on the other side. They're very busy learning things, and sometimes doing, like, I've seen people sitting in their favorite chair,
Oh.
golfing. They kind of, it's almost like being retired. You're kind of doing what you didn't get to do when you're living. So now you're
Oh,
making it.
that's awesome.
I saw another guy, he was gardening. And I
Aw.
remember the wife said, what is he doing? I said, hang on. Oh my God, it looks like he's gardening vegetables. She goes, oh, he did that when he was living. That's all he ever
Aw.
did. I said, he's doing it again. He made a garden up there. It's
Oh, that
crazy.
gives me goosebumps. That's awesome.
But it's like, if that wasn't validation, I was like, wait, what is he doing? And then I had another, it was like a whole family, like three guys. And actually, I was talking to probably 5 deceased people simultaneously. And all of a sudden, one guy took over, and I'm like, wait a minute, where did everyone go? This is visually in my
Yeah.
mind here. And I'm looking and I'm squinting because I squint sometimes during my readings to see. And I'm like, they're playing dice. They've like stepped away from the microphone. They're playing dice. 3 of them are sitting and playing dice. And she goes, oh my God, they always played dice down here. And now he's like, what? They're playing dice up there too. They've like checked
That
out.
is
They don't want to
hilarious.
talk to them anymore. They went back to playing dice. And it was just so funny. And I was just like, man, you can't make this up. This is like, this is hilarious. It's just so weird. But the advice I would tell you, and believe me, losing both parents and facing holiday upon holiday, I will give you firsthand advice. The first one is going to be very weird. We're talking birthdays, Mother's Day, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. Usually are probably the 4 times a
Right.
year you're going to get sad. The first year was weird. I just kind of spent time looking at pictures and reflecting. I mean, obviously there was a devoid of presents, so I kind of took to the internet, and God bless everyone on Facebook. They like sent me presents. I said,
Mhm.
let's do a gift exchange. They're like, no, V, we're just sending you stuff. So that was kind of my way of dealing with, the void of presents just to start off. And then the next year I bought a black Christmas tree. I was feeling really like bah humbug.
Yeah.
And then I realized, you know what? The reason I'm bitter is because we've had such a long structured holiday with presents, cards,
Mhm.
so the best I can tell you is to slowly start making a new tradition, a new Christmas for yourself. Don't attach the old Christmas so much with the old memories, as it's going to be hard for a while. So start a new tradition. If you always ate ham, maybe have turkey this time. Really start relearning that part of your memory and that part of the pain, and just start new traditions. Another thing that helps is to set uh, a little chair at that table, and honor that person. Whether it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, but just to slowly, and then that way you're psychologically looking at the chair and correlating that it's empty and getting used to that. So it's like a slow process to realize that this person is physically not here anymore. However, they have transcended to spiritually. So they are around you, but you're just not going to see or hear them anymore. So the main thing is to get used to sensing people. Open up, really sense, smell. Maybe you'll get to hear, but if you open up those senses, you will be connected again, but in a new way. And that's what
Right.
I try to teach my clients, is that they're still here, but we need to get out of the human aspect of
Right. The physicality.
here. Yes. And now we're just going to have them and embrace them in a new way. And then they will be back around, and you will have a brand new relationship. And even better, because now they're limitless. They can pop
Right.
in and out, they can be wherever they need to, they can
And
help you.
hopefully more wise.
Oh, yes, they will have things to tell you. Believe me, I get a lot of advice from my mother. She tells me to see about everything I do.
Yeah, death is really hard. I mean, every time, ever since my mom passed, and I learned these things and going through the book and everything, now whenever a friend of mine has a loss, I say, look for them.
Yeah.
Sometimes they look at me like I've lost my ever loving mind. Other times they say, I've already seen them. So, I think that if we do open up and take off the blinders of our humanity, then there will be those signs and coincidences. I mean, what happened to what my mom did, gives me goosebumps just thinking of it, because I made her promise that she would, show me a sign you're still here. And she did, at least 3 times since she
Wow.
passed, 22 years ago or something like that. But I think the openness needs to be in us as opposed to them, right? Because it's us that has to be open to the realm beyond what we see, the faith
Right.
of it.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And if you have any ounce of doubt or I don't believe in this, I mean, sometimes people
Not going to
come to
happen.
me, right, and they're like, yeah, I'm coming, but I don't really believe in this stuff. And I'm just like, oh, well, I said, first thing, we got to change the attitude. We've got to open up and believe. And then
Right.
hopefully at the end of the session, you will believe. But people definitely do continue on, you know. No, and people don't want that. That's the one thing also on the other side. They worry about being forgotten. And it's
Mhm.
easy, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
So I tell people just talk. I know it's going to feel weird at first talking out into the air, but just do it and it'll become more and more normal. Or you can talk telepathically in your head to the person
Mhm.
as well. But I said the minute we're just like, oh, yeah, they're gone or moving on. Yeah, now we have kind of desensitized that energy, instead of giving it more power. And then we slowly start, now it does become a death. Actually, it's not a death
Right.
when people are up there, but if we forget them, that's the death.
Right. Right. Okay, so we spoke of ghosts and people
Yeah.
on the other side. Um, can you just like call on, so like if I came to you for a session and I say I want to talk to Vince, can you
Yeah.
just go, "Yo, Vince," and he'll show up? Or is it more of a who's out there type of thing? How does that work?
Well, it's a little of both. I usually tell people I just open up. I can't control who comes through or what they talk about, which is true. Um, and 9 out of 10 times I've been able to reach people. If anything, it might be the fault of me just not being on enough for that day, or maybe
Mm.
sometimes they're not ready to talk.
Oh,
One would think
okay.
it's weird, but I usually, my gifts are so strong that if I just as much as look at a name or a picture or anything or think of my friends, something gets sent out already. And
Oh,
so
wow.
so I have to be really careful at what pictures I look at or who I'm thinking about, especially if I don't want to hear from them. So
Right?
that sounds mean, but I swear the minute I'm like, whatever happened to, Joe or whatever, and then 5 minutes later, that person will call and I haven't talked to them in like 8 years. And I'm like, oh, did I think yeah, I did. I got to stop that, but it
You
does. It's like,
summon them.
yeah. So, yeah. So I wrote down the name Vince now, and we'll see if any.
Or my mom, Tanya.
Well, Tanya,
Yes.
A or T-O?
TA.
Tanya. Okay, that's what I started to write. Okay, all right.
And
So
which
you
is
guys,
funny because she had a real problem with an O. Anytime someone wrote an O, she had a
that
real problem with
that
that.
is crazy because I was sitting there and I started and I heard a really strong, like somebody did not want me to mess that up, and so
I mean, everybody spells my name wrong. It's not an issue for me in any way, like whatever. But man, that upset
yeah,
her. I was like,
Tanya,
don't you
Tanya
dare
with an
spell my
A,
name wrong.
Tanya with an A.
Okay, and Patrick has some questions.
Yeah, how
Are
do
there
you see
kind of species of ghosts, or are there just people with different personalities in different moods?
Oh, I like that. Different well, like besides the human species?
I think so. That when we had the woman on the Roku chick,
Yes.
um, she said that there was no reincarnation and animals stayed animals. And I was like, I don't believe that. I want to be a beluga whale in my next life. Don't you tell me I can't be.
Exactly. You can be all that you want.
Right. So I mean,
Yeah,
are there do you
different
get
species.
dog ghosts or anything like that?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, so paranormally, if I'm out, there might be a cat or dog I will experience. Now, in terms of channeling, because I do communicate and with animals and channel
Mhm.
people's animals as well as look at their living ones and see what's going on with them. Um, so far, it's been cats and dogs. I started thinking, so does every animal go? Could I talk to a beetle? I started wondering, But the weirdest one I've done was somebody's pet iguana. And I had to
Really?
find out the cause of death. And I went back there and I'm like, he's showing me laying out there in the sun and just dehydrating, and his skin is all
Oh,
like tattered.
wow.
And she goes, that's how I found him. I said, okay, well, that's how you killed him too.
Oops.
Yeah. But so
I would picture an iguana having an accent. I don't know why, but like maybe a Spanish accent or something like that.
he's from Rosarito.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so he says, like, is a poltergeist a human ghost or something more intelligently
Oh, I love
naughty?
this person with their questions. So, actually, it's funny because in my book I cover a poltergeist that was in my wall and kept knocking. So I've done a lot of extensive study and research on poltergeist because I'm like, what the heck is going on? I know that I psychokinetically triggered somehow the poltergeist because it is connected to kinetic energy as well. So sometimes the poltergeist is its own little entity. I've actually studied videos of drawers opening, and if you slowed it down, there's like a little tiny black mist opening the drawers and the doors
Mm,
that can't really be seen, without the camera.
right.
So I started thinking maybe they're like these little not shadow people, but little mysterious, like elf kind of, creatures that just want to open drawers and doors and slam things and throw things
Little
across the room.
fuckers. Little
Exactly. They're
fuckers.
just little gremlins, just being bratty little ghosts that are just like, because they never harm anyone. They just want to just create craziness.
Right.
So it's almost like this chaotic energy that comes, and maybe it's coming from the living, but they just like to, mess with that. So I wouldn't say it's a ghost per se, because there's ghosts, there's demons, there's shadow people. These are all separate, different kinds of entities. So I would almost put poltergeist in a separate, category of just the kind that just want to wreak havoc.
I think I have a cat ghost in this current apartment. And I say that because it's always knocking shit out of my hands. I have never dropped anything like I drop in. I mean, things just like jump out of my hands here. So I joke that it must be a cat smacking shit around
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. And it would be, just ornery, just smacking stuff out. But yeah, Patrick says he might have seen a shadow person at the school this time. And when I had the ghost in my apartment at 21, I too saw that black mist over my son's crib, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, that was one of the, as soon as you said that, I'm like, oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
And it was messing with him as an infant and just a trickster.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pain in my moving dishes, moving stuff where I would go and grab it. It was like, you're just an asshole.
Yeah, it's just for the sake of, I mean, there's some ghosts that are just like, walking and flowing along the forest. And then there's some that just, I don't know. I think they probably got bullied at school, and now they just want to have as much, like maybe they were wallflowers and they need attention now. They're attention seeking ghost
incels.
they just want attention, and so maybe that's why they're doing it. Maybe if we give them attention, they'll go away.
Maybe because I'm always yelling that damn cat as something jumps out of my hand. Like, really? Yeah.
Next time, to tell her, if you want to impress me, mow the lawn.
Right. Play with my dogs, do something. And even they see something too. It's really weird.
Animals are very sensitive to that. So I always tell people, use the cat or a dog as a good ghost doorbell, because they definitely, can see things.
Yeah, my new puppy's always like looking at things like, and I'm like, that you're just staring at a wall, dude. What's wrong?
It's like, no, there's like
a
10-foot guy right there.
Do these, and like there's nothing there. I was like, it's the damn cat again. So, do you have control over your gifts or do they just come at you?
Yes and no. Nothing is ever just a direct. Um, I didn't at first, and then it was really starting to get out of control because I'd be showering and suddenly somebody came through, and I'm standing there dripping wet, writing notes and texting
Oh,
people.
wow.
So I said, you know what? We have to make a little bit of a, you know, 8 hour
Boundaries.
window that I have office hours now. So it's gotten better. But like I said, if I just think of somebody or something, and I didn't know that about myself, I just thought, oh, let me just go about my day. And then stuff happens all day long. And I'm like, oh gosh. Like if I'm looking at a friend and suddenly they're like, yeah, my grandpa just died. And so I think, oh, my grandpa just, his grandpa just died. Immediately, that's all it takes. And I'm getting information, and they're
Oh,
like, "Oh,
wow.
well, tell 'em that," and just because I repeated it, and got in that energy, and
Acknowledgement. Just
yeah, it's
acknowledgement.
it's weird. So now I just try to have most of me to myself and not have them access it so much because it was nonstop, and it got to the point where I didn't know what was me and what was them.
Oh,
It was
wow.
intermingling, so that's why I had to set
Wow.
rules. So if I'm in the zone and I'm doing readings, then I know that everything is all them and not me, and vice versa. Because I mean, I know my own thoughts, but sometimes some I brush my teeth and I'm like, oh my gosh, I da da da, and whatever they're telling me, and I'm like, shoot, who does this go to? Then I have to think, who was I just thinking about or talking to? Because so it starts becoming so convoluted. So I just try to um keep um oh, that's interesting. Okay. So he's I looked down at the word Vince while I was talking to you, and he's bringing up the heart thing. I feel he's taking pride in that.
I can
So
see that.
um he's like, I did that. Was
Mm.
he kind of like a little, for lack of better words, I'm gonna call him brutish, brute, like a brute. I mean, like a bigger, like I keep wanting to go like this. Was he like,
Overweight?
no, no, not overweight? I would have said overweight.
Okay.
No,
Uh,
but I keep wanting to like he had to, like alpha male, I guess is a good word to say.
I think he always wanted to be one, but wasn't.
Okay, because he just keeps making me want to go like that. He comes across bigger than life, no pun intended.
That he was. That he
Okay,
was.
okay, yeah. So he is watching the podcast. Don't screw up. Don't
Hi,
screw up.
sweetheart. Hi, sweetheart. I miss you so much.
Oh,
Wow, that's wild.
yeah. But right when I looked at, so what happened for me was I looked down at the word Vince, and then I was taken back to the heart, and he's like, that was me. So he's prideful in the fact that he caused that heart on one
I can
side.
see that. Yeah, I can see
Um,
that. I just knew. I mean, it was just so odd. I mean, it wasn't, I was gone 10 days or something like that,
yeah,
and it went from fully healthy. But Vince and I had a really strange connection. It was almost a psychic connection, at least for me to him. I
yeah.
always knew when he was doing something. I knew when something was wrong. And right before I left to Costa Rica, I called him and I said, "You're not going to make it. You're not going to make. You're going to die while I'm in Costa Rica." And he
Oh, wow.
laughed at me and, "Sherry, I'm fine." And I wrote him a message and said, "I have no doubt that we were soulmates, but we were not destined to live this life together. We
I
were
see.
destined to create." I mean, and I was hysterical. I was crying. My son's like, "Chill the fuck out, mom. You're just stressed out." So as soon as he died, I was awakened in the middle of the night. I knew instantly. And that's all my son kept saying was, "Holy crap, my mom was right." It
Yeah.
was just always one of those connections. Like I could literally call him and go, "What are you doing? what are you fucking up now? And he'd be like, how do you know? It was just one of those things.
Yeah.
So while it was very toxic relationship, we stayed friends till the end. And I do feel like part of my heart is gone.
Yeah. Well, and that would make sense. Like he wanted to literally um acknowledge that as well by making a visual like that.
Yeah, and then it turned out that we weren't even really divorced. So that he punked me out on that too. It took me years to try and get my name back because technically we were not divorced according to the entire nation except for California. So
Oh my God.
moving back here, I was actually able to declare the divorce as legal. And yeah. So a lot of our high school friends were like, oh, he got you to the end, didn't he?
I love it. Well, he feels like he was a bit of a jokester. I can see the
That
humor.
he was very funny,
Yeah.
very funny guy.
And that comes through, and I definitely feel that.
Oh, well, I'm glad he's around. So,
Yeah.
do you think the TBI did this, the traumatic brain injury, or do you think that it awakened you?
A little bit of both. I mean, I talk to a lot of people that I mean, obviously I go to neurologists all the time, and I look around and I see the people in the office, and I don't think all those people are psychic. Um for some, I studied once I got to the internet was created, and I was able to finally Google my brain injury. I did realize that right where I got hit would have been right near the pineal gland, because I was sitting there
Mm.
measuring and lining things up, and I'm like, because I didn't have a near death experience. I mean, I was started to get comatose and die, but I certainly didn't die, which is the story of a lot of people that seem to be psychic, is that
Mm.
they die first and then come back. And maybe it just takes, maybe it's not really that they become psychic, but they see death and the afterlife, and maybe they believe more, and now they open
Mm.
up and they come
Like
back.
an awakening.
Yeah. So maybe that's what happened. But for me, I went from just being a normal person modeling in LA to suddenly like hugging people and going, okay, you're going to die in 4 years from this and this.
Wow.
And I'm just like, what just happened? Like I was doing normal things on TV shows and whatever. And now I'm like, what happened? Like, it's like it changed overnight. Suddenly all these things were just hypersensitive, and it really annoyed me for a long time, because
Right? Get
I
out of my head.
I didn't ask for this. Why is this happening to me? Why can't I just be normal? I don't need to know all this and get this information, because it's almost like your little brain was in there, and then this big brain came and pushed your little brain out.
Oh, wow.
And now all you're gonna get is all, like radio transmission of information. And it's I don't think people realize that being psychic is so much work. It's even work when you're not working,
Right.
because, well, that's just work, and that in itself is hard. But then you're just trying to get your words back, and it takes a while to come back down after I've been up there channeling, because it's just work. It's a lot of pressure, it's a lot of thinking, it's a lot, this is my thought, this is someone else coming through, and
Wow.
it's just, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Like, it is difficult. It's not all glitz and glams or whatever. There is a lot of work to it, and just sleep and eating, and there's
Right.
a lot of discipline that just comes, and after a while of being out for the day running errands, I'm just like, I'm exhausted. I also do very little. I get out a little bit, but then it's like you just kind of sequester yourself inside, away from people, and you kind
Yeah.
of
I
become
mean, how do you have boundaries with your brain?
boundaries with your brain.
That's got to be, I can't, don't think that, stay out of my head. Don't you? I mean, that's got to be tough. Mind fuck is the only thing that's coming to mind right now. Um, but I do want to get to Michelle. Michelle is my mentor, and
Okay.
she, quickly, I won't say unexpectedly, but quickly lost her husband this year.
Mm.
And it's been very tragic. and such a great loss. So she said, I feel like Chuck's watching with me. There was something V said a few minutes ago, and I smelled his scent really strong, which is pretty much how I know that he's here.
Oh, thank you, Chuck. Look at Chuck showing off there.
Yeah, I actually had a dream about him like a week ago, and it was I had forgotten that he passed, and it was traumatizing. And it was like reliving his life all over, or reliving his death all over again.
Wow.
And it was like, man, I didn't need that. Why'd that come into my dreams? But that's, a chair that's going to be empty this year. That is very hard.
Yeah. But yeah, like I was saying before, they're gonna find a way to um eh, make their presence known. But if something doesn't work, like he might, now that you acknowledge the scent, he might use that each time. um but they'll do things, and if it doesn't work, then they're like, oh, okay, well, it's like barking up the wrong tree. They're not going to do it again because that's wasted energy. All these things that they do down here take a lot of energy, and so if it's going um in vain, they're going to stop doing that. They're going to find something else that works.
Well,
So as
Michelle is open. She would
yeah,
be open to everything and see it, because she's just that fabulous of a person.
love
But
it.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
glad. I'm glad Chuck is watching with you. Thank you.
him, yay, that
And
was so
she says he's been doing that all along. So yeah, I
okay.
mean, he could be a trickster because he had that personality. But I'm glad that he's being tender with you, Michelle, and I'm glad he keeps coming to you. That's beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, Chucky.
Okay, so we are almost at the top of the hour. What haven't we covered that we should?
Bigfoot. No, I'm kidding.
The Bigfoot, yeah.
No, I'm kidding. That's another show. The ghosts
Do you
of
have
Bigfoot.
proof?
I need to get up to the northwest first before I can.
There
I'll
you go. Yeah.
bring back some proof.
So, I mean, what kind of advice would you have for people who are struggling, or anything else that they should know about the beyond that would offer them some comfort?
Yeah. So for people struggling, and I say this because I was in your shoes, and nobody was closer with their mother than me, and it's been 9 years, and I don't sit and bawl my eyes out anymore. I'll have a little cry, but I know, and this sounds harsh, but no crying is going to bring anybody back. So
Right.
you're just expending that energy, rather than, and look at the pictures and smile. Don't look at them and cry, and because that puts you in this spot again. We are trying to grow and evolve out of that. So when you're looking at the pictures now and smiling for all the moments and memories you've created, you are on the path to healing, because it does get easier, but it takes some time.
You don't think, I mean, I keep getting this like, it, I mean, the tears will never stop for my mom, right? Birthday, death day, Mother's Day. Those are the worst. She hated the holidays, so it's not that bad for me at this time.
Yeah.
But I kind of feel like if we did fully move on and that heartache wasn't there, then doesn't that diminish their memory? Doesn't that
No,
invalidate their spots in our lives?
no, because a lot of the times when I channel people, if they see that you're sad, I mean, they understand, but they really want you to move forward and move on,
Mm,
because they connect with you. And if they're connecting with you and you're always crying, it's kind of like you call your best friend and they're always crying. You're not going to call that best friend after a while. It's like, so when they're connecting and they're looking down at you, they want to see that you're moving about, and they can feel you thinking about them. So they want to connect to happiness, and there's no disrespect in showing that you are happy and you're thriving, because that's what they want to look down and see. They don't want to look down and see you always sad and crying, because that makes them sad. They're feeling
mm.
whatever you're feeling.
True
So
love. True love.
if they look down and like, oh, Sherry's doing really well, I love to see that. That also, now you're vibrating higher, they're vibrating higher, because we both have to vibrate high to meet in the middle. So when you're
Mhm.
sad, it's a sad vibration to lock onto for them. And they understand, they get it. They get that you're
Right.
sad, and they get that you're missing them and lonely and mourning. But at some point, we have to really shift out of that. And I
Back
always,
into life.
yeah, because you are neglecting your life. And I mean, now it's going on 9 years. I'm fortunate enough to have a relationship that switched into telepathically, my mother being able to talk to me all day long in my head. And we have a lot of dream visits as well, where I am face to face. And it's like, okay, good.
Mhm.
I can't wait for the next one. Like, let's just keep this up, because it's
Right,
you're here.
right,
That's all I needed. I just needed the face to face time.
right.
So,
Yeah,
but it's taken years to get to that
yeah,
point, of mastering your mind to where you can just quiet the human side and just allow. And if you can get that going, you can have an amazing relationship with anyone that you have left, or has left briefly here, and you can still start a new relationship. Whatever way, I mean, the whole thing is to communicate,
right.
whatever that is, whether that's a speak and spell, you get some little magnetic letters from the fridge.
Roku.
Yeah, Roku works really well. No, maybe Angry Birds, I don't know.
Right.
But you have to find that language that works with your person on the other side, and then you can have a complete dialogue, and and it'll be just like before. I mean, not
Wow.
exactly, but the relationship and that connection will continue.
Right before my mom died, she had lost consciousness or was sleeping. Let's just say she was
Yeah.
sleeping, and I was crying.
Mm.
And she awakened and she goes, "Oh, you're crying again." Which was my mom.
Right.
"Don't show emotions, suck it up, you're too dramatic," all of those things. And I said, "Mom, I can't help but to cry." And she made me promise her that I would not, uh, be in embody the pain of her loss. When she lost her parents, she didn't like them, so it wasn't traumatic, so she couldn't even
Yeah.
relate to the pain that I was having and the loss that I was having. And I tried so hard to keep that every year, like on her birthday or on Mother's Day. And I mean, the first couple of years were just, there's just
Oh,
no way, right?
wow.
But as the years progressed, it was okay. What can I do that my mom would just like be the best present for her if she was here? And the answer to that was always clean my house. I used to joke with her that she was anally clean, and
Yeah.
she didn't understand the Freudian aspect of that, and she'd always
Right.
go, "But comparing my butthole to my clean house," but it's like that, that's what she would want. So, on the times that were really tough, it's like, "Okay, let's get cleaning," and I would automatically feel better because I knew she'd be like, "That a girl, finally,"
Yeah.
that type of thing.
And that's the trick, is to find things that you connected with down here, and that's still going to work for now. um because, yeah, I mean, the relationship never ends, it just shifts.
It just
And
changes, yeah. I mean, she
and
literally wrote in her prayer journals for her friends to have cleaner houses. So this was an obsession for
I
her.
love it, I love it. I
So,
know.
yeah, I know a bit beyond any doubt if she is watching over me, if she did, that she would want me to clean my house on those days. Even if it doesn't need it, find something to clean, and that
Yeah.
would make her happy. So that's what I try and do.
Oh, no, I love that. And that's it's all about honoring,
Right,
you know their life and their continuing. I mean, heck, we still have to stay down here and live their life. They are
right.
just coasting around on Milky Way buses and
Jumping on
comets.
clouds.
Yeah, it's like they're living the life, and so it's kind of comical for them also to look down, and they want to keep tabs and see what we're up to, because it's kind of comical to them, because they're done. They already did that. So now let's watch the rest of us play out this life thing here and see how we do.
Learn the lessons we're supposed to.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put your website here
Okay.
in the chat since the banner isn't working. Yes. Okay, so promote your book. Tell us everything that we didn't cover of your expansive life, this
Yeah,
totally
it's
full
here.
life is in this book. Where can they buy it and what's the name?
It's called I Am V by Valentina Marie Lombard, and you can search it on Amazon and you can search it on barnesandnoble.com.
Fantastic. And it's available now.
Yes, and you will love it. It's all true life stories. It's going to start off with my life and then merge into all the ghosties and poltergeists and all this. You will absolutely love it. Men, women alike will absolutely love this book. If you like the paranormal and mysticism and crazy things that happen, this is all true stuff that happened in my life that is now finally in a book. So love the paranormal, you will love this.
Well, go ahead because I had copied Patrick's email by accident. What's your website?
Oh, it is www.psychicmediumvalentina.com.
Fantastic. I will figure out how to do. Let me see if the ticker works. Nope, my tickers disappear. Everything disappears.
Your ticker is ticked off.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to contact the app. But okay, so any final words? It's been such a pleasure having you on.
Oh my gosh, this was so fun. I'm glad we finally did it.
Yes.
And, I was excited when I heard that you had a podcast. I was like, Sherry, my girl, she's doing it.
Right. Oh, by the way, audience, I know Valentina. She's actually a friend of mine. So yes.
7 years now.
Honored to know her.
Thank you so much. But yes, I hope everyone has a happy holiday. And just remember, take it one day at a time, but just definitely be open and look around to be very present. So when, the holidays come and Christmas, just look around and notice if lights are blinking or anything, odd is happening, that could be a sign from your loved one just popping in. Okay, nothing is coincidence. So if anything's out of place or out of the norm, more than likely it's a spirit.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to send you backstage and close the show. Patrick, I'm so sorry I put your email out there. I'm so sorry. It's just one of those days. You know this, right? You know this. He's my producer. He knows this.
I know, poor guy.
Okay, beautiful. I'm going to send you back.
All right,
I want to talk to you after the show. So stay back there so I can talk to you.
Okay, I will. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Oh, what a great show. I really hope that you were able to get something out of this. If only that you know that your loved ones who have passed are not that far away. They're here. So I want to make sure that you are aware and open and everything that needs to be involved for you to be able to access that energy and feel their love from beyond. Thanks again, Patrick, for being such a wonderful producer. I'm so glad that you guys can see me. I cleaned my video up so you can see. Sorry, bad videos, but I'm getting better. We're fixing this out. Have a wonderful week. Next week's show is the last show of the year, and it's going to be with another boss bitch that's trying to change the world, Candace Hartman. Stay tuned for that. It will be a fantastic show. Like the show, hit subscribe, share it, all of those types of things. Thanks again. And as always, have a wonderful week and walk in love. Mwah! See you next week.